One of the big problems I had with ThrOG version 2 was what to do with my power cabling and a few audio and internet cables that come off that weren't part of the main chassis. They had to plug into the PC and the various components somehow, but I couldn't ever figure out a good way to keep them out of the way where they didn't get ran over and also didn't bend back and forth quite a bit, causing metal fatigue and problems with the cables themselves. I had the PC on this little miniature plywood platform on wheels as a way to mitigate the problem, but it really didn't solve it. So with ThrOG3, I decided to take that platform, modify it, expand it, put it on steroids, and what I've come up with is this black box in front of me, which I call the PC Caddy. Now we call it the PC Caddy because when it's all said and done, the PC will set right here in all of its glory, like a crown with a jewel. The whole thing is on casters. I wanted rigid casters, but I couldn't find either with the exact right height, so I went with swivels. They work well enough. It all mates up to the chassis with these right angles right here, here, and here. Bolt in here and there. Now, of course, when it's all built and constructed and assembled, the back panels will be on this thing. It won't look halfway torn apart, and it'll all made up nice. But the idea is it bolts in up nice and tight and snug. And then when the chassis moves forward, the caddy moves forward. When the chassis moves back, the caddy moves back. The vast majority of the cabling involved with this whole project will be in a huge bundle here, coming out of a hole that I haven't drilled yet. It'll come up, come through the back plate here, that'll be right here, and then it'll get disseminated out to wherever it needs to go in an orderly, controlled, beautiful fashion, unlike this gaggle of cabling we have here right now. On the other side of this thing, come around, well, here we have a webcam. This is going to help me spot kitty cats that may or may not be trying to commit kitty suicide by laying in front of this thing when I open it. We have a cat detection device. We also have two here, which isn't really part of the video, but since we're talking about cat detection, I wanted to be sure I could see these little critters so I don't break their tails or their feet or what have you, because being cats, they will lay in the worst possible place possible just because they want me to feel bad and feed them because I tried to kill them. It's cat math. On this side, we have the door to the caddy. It folds up and twists, turns, locks in place when you're not using it. Right now on the inside, I've got a couple 2x4 platforms and a 10-inch actuator. That actuator, the head of it right there, mates up to that coupling right there when it's all lined up and bolted up nice. And when the actuator moves in and out, the racing pedals move in and out, which allows me to adjust them for leg length of different operators. For now it's torn apart, but it will get put back together eventually. Now, those two 2x4s right there, those hold up this platform over here, which is all the power for the whole thing. You see this hole right here? That hole corresponds to the housing of the actuator. It sticks up through because it's higher than what I needed the platform to be. But the idea is we have all the AC and DC power we need for the whole monstrous project I'm building here. We've got DC power for the actuators, power strips for USB peripherals, butt kicker, subwoofer, drink chiller, refrigerator, that sort of thing. Just got an old PC power supply to run my lights and fans. Got a 3-prong extension cord here where I'll plug in the VR sensors and VR headset power. And it all plugs into this UPS. Mission critical systems, such as the actuators that open and close this thing, will get plugged into the battery backup side. Everything else gets plugged into the surge protector. The other thing to point out about this, a number of these are wired in with these clips. The idea will be I'll wire switches into the control panel over here, which is right now disassembled, but I'll be able to turn the AC power on and off directly just by killing the power rather than using a relay, which I just didn't want to use them. Things are complicated enough as it is. But it all fits into here. Great big gaggle of cables come out the side here through a hole I haven't drilled yet. there'll be a fan and a vent here, and a smaller hole where the main power cable of the UPS will come off, as well as just a handful of cables that come off the back. We're going to have a couple speakers, a webcam coming off the seat. We're going to have a fan controller, butt kicker, an actuator, and there'll be 2 Ethernet cables coming down. So all told, I lost track. That's about 10, 12 cables will come down. I'll have them all trussed up nice. They'll come down through here, around the wall, out of the way, on the floorboards, and they'll eventually come down through here and come in through the back along with the power cable that runs everything. The idea is to have them routed out of the way and have enough slack to where they're never run over. Metal fatigue's not a problem. And then, in theory, that's how it's all going to work. This is all subject to change based on how it actually comes together when I put it all together, as is the case with this entire project. But for now, that's the operating plan.